There are times when an anime will grab your interest in one way or another, whether it be through fast-paced action, its larger-than-life characters, its music, or the story it's telling. Everything comes together to create an unforgettable experience. There's a reason titles like Attack on Titan remained a staple of the genre for almost 10 years until its end. The same can be said for One Piece and how it's able to stick around for almost 30. It's why there are so many beloved fans of Naruto, even though they complain about the anime and all of its filler. We all have a series that is special to us in one way or another. Something that has changed us right to our core. For me, it was a series that surprised me out of nowhere. Something that at first I chose to dismiss as something that would likely not amass to anything interesting. However, I was very, very, very wrong. What followed was a story I could not look away from. A tale of individuals stuck in a world that is unforgiving and corrupt. A reality that echoes eerily similar themes and actions we see in our own world today. Ladies and gentlemen, this is an anime that left me speechless. This is 86, a 23 episode long series that released in the spring season of 2021. Coincidentally, this was my first ever time watching seasonal anime. I first heard about it on Mother's Basement's Winter 2021 video and found myself interested. But if one were to look up 86 in this day and age, they'll probably most likely see this clip.
Yeah, I watched, what was it, 81, 87? Was it
86.
86. Literally every number but the one. Bro, it was shit.
Was it?
It was bad.
You didn't like it?
I was so bored by it. I was like, I get it, right? I don't need you to tell me that this is the story. Like, this is, and I should feel sad.
I will never forgive Connor for this statement. Up until this point, I'd only been watching whatever people recommended to me in terms of anime. My Crunchyroll subscription was still new, and I had a whole catalogue at my fingertips. I started watching this series just as the 11th and final episode of the first cour premiered. And yes, I know I am a couple years late to this discussion, but I wanted to throw my hat into the ring and give my own analysis on this series, as it is something I have wanted to do for a very long time. That said, I want to go over as much as I can without revealing crucial plot points to this amazing experience. So there will be parts that slightly and heavily go into spoilers in the second half of this video. So please know that you have been warned, and do tread carefully if you want to go in with a fresh experience. Let's give a quick rundown of the story. The Republic of San Magnolia is under defense against an artificial army called the Legion, released by the neighboring Giad Empire. After many years of technological advances in an attempt to counteract this force, the country is now able to counter the synthetic threat with its own autonomous battle machine called the Juggernaut, which is controlled by special processors. Except, underneath all the propaganda, there's something about the processors the Republic doesn't want the public to know. We'll come back to that in a second. At first glance, this feels like it's going to be a generic Gundam-esque story about a bunch of soldiers against the world. But if anything, it's more of a reflection on how a society's own values can contradict itself and how it can influence anything one can achieve or do. While we are led to believe that it is the Legion who are the monsters of this nightmare, the same can be said for the Republic of San Magnolia. About those processes I mentioned before? Well, believe it or not, they're actually humans. Not just any human. These are humans that San Magnolia looks down upon. You see, San Magnolia has the belief that the Albans, those of pure white hair, blue eyes, are the superior race, and anyone else who isn't that is just subhuman. So if you do not meet those requirements, you are ripped away from your homes, stripped of your freedom, and forced to live in camps on the Republic's 86th district. Yeah, San Magnolia is racist. No matter how hard you try, everything has its secrets, even utopias. Throughout the story, there are two unique perspectives that we will come to follow. The first being that of the plucky and young Spearhead Squadron, While this group is the main focus, I think there's someone else who is just as important that we should definitely start with first. And her name is Major Lena Milese. I really hope I said that right. A young officer within the San Magnolia military that has recently been assigned control of the Spearhead Squadron and is required to oversee their operations and communications via a device called a Pararaid. It essentially allows the wearer to psychically connect with the soldiers on the system, which is pretty impressive. Lena is not like the other officers of the military. She is someone who tries to show compassion to the 86. She sees them as people being treated unjustly and tries to guide the soldiers under her command towards the promise of their freedom after their 5-year term, which we eventually learn is a giant lie covered by a means of being sent on a suicide mission into unknown territory before their service is complete. Because why would they want the secret to get out? But let's ignore that for now. Even though Lena is only a handler, she tries to go beyond her station and try to engage herself within the processes. Some of them are simple gestures, talking to them daily, asking them all questions about themselves, about the cat that lives in the base and its name, to which everyone has a different answer. Except Spearhead are only just humoring Lena, with speech being the only possible form of communication between Spearhead and Lena. Spearhead goes behind Lena's back constantly, making jabs at what she's probably like outside of being a handler. They draw her to be a white pig dressed up in a uniform, which is very reminiscent of Orwell's Animal Farm. This literal distance between handler and processor serves as the first of many barriers Lena learns about as she continues her role as handler. Everything seems and is working fine until...
I can't move. No. I don't want to die.
The first ever casualty of Spearhead Squadron under Lena's command. Due to an oversight by her in the moment of battle, the processor, Kirschblut, gets trapped in the wetlands after changing positions at Lena's command and is obliterated by artillery as the dust settles after the battle. Lena, left speechless and terrified, keeps apologizing over and over again to the people under her command until one processor has had enough of her rambling.
What are you sorry for? We don't have much to do here. So most of the time, we can play along with your little act. Did you expect that we wouldn't care when we lost one of our own? Do you think we're out here fighting because we want to be? You locked us out here! You forced us to fight! Do you think that if you just act nice and talk to us every day, that it's some kind of substitute for treating us as human? You didn't care enough to ask us for our real names! It never even crossed your goddamn mind!
This scene still leaves me speechless every time I've had to listen to it. It's awful, direct, unfiltered, inconsiderate. But is any of what he's saying wrong? Unfortunately, none of it is. This is a moment that would change not only Lena's perception of the world she lives within, but also helps establish to us, the viewers, the kinds of things that we will see as the story continues. Lena is such an interesting character for us as an audience to follow. She is able to evolve from her own choices and doesn't choose to let that single defeat define her entire legacy. Even though she has no ability to visually observe the conflict in its entirety, she strives to find new and different means to support her new allies, even if it means that she has to go behind the backs of higher rank officials. And over time, that change becomes more and more evident. From episode 9, we see the parting between our handler and her remaining processors. Spearhead is ordered to conduct their final mission, from which they will never return, and all Lena can do is watch. They destroyed the Legion that was terrorizing the Eastern Front. Unable to return to base, the squad can only move forward, out of Magnolia and into unknown territory. This is the last time Major Lena will ever interact with the Spearhead Squadron. The people she learned to understand and befriend were now beyond the borders, inaccessible. What's left to do? It's sadly only one option. Move forward. This brings me to one of my favorite scenes in the series, a wide-angle shot of Lena traversing train tracks, similar to the ones we saw at the beginning in episode 1, as the sun sets above her. Using visual representation, there is so much that one can see. The sun setting represents the end of Spearhead, the train tracks symbolizing that the battle is far from over. The journey of the people she slowly came to call friends may be over, but her new mission was just beginning. And as time passes, we come to see Lena as a completely different person. She's been demoted to captain and overseeing a different processor unit far away from the Eastern Front. The usual consequences you would get for going against your superiors. Except, something's different about her than last time. She wears a darker shade of blue, a small strand of hair dyed red. Officers around her whisper the name, the Blood-Stained Queen, whenever they see her. No longer the ambitious childlike wonder she was on her first day as a handler, but a calm, collected figure of authority and prowess. Further portrayed by the evidence that there is now other Albans following her orders. We can see the impact that the Spearhead Squadron has left on her. She keeps a photo of them inside her jacket pocket, alongside the crude drawing of her as a little pig, except it's covered in final messages from all of the soldiers beneath her. In parallel with Lena's growth as a confident leader, we can notice that there are things about San Magnolia that start to feel repetitive. We notice that in episode 12, a lot of the shots and scenes that are used at the start of the very first episode are being reused. One can interpret this as San Magnolia being frozen in place, never changing, living in a world that doesn't need hope, unaware of the peril beyond their walls. Unfortunately, that peaceful bliss wouldn't last forever. On the night of the Republic's Revolution Festival, amidst many festival celebrations throughout the capital, every screen in the city turns to static. Suddenly, there's a weird broadcast. It's hard to make out, as it's in the dead of night. The only thing that could be seen is a tower falling to the ground, before all signal is lost. Lena watches on, in panic. She knows that position, the Grand Mur. For the first time in history, San Magnolia is breached. All the other officers around Lena are confused or just too drunk to notice. She's the only person who immediately takes action, powering her parade to give orders to the staff under her who are also in full panic. As she frantically runs to her station, she is stopped by her uncle, General Karstal, who just happens to be one of the highest ranking military officials in the entire Republic. He demands that Lena stand down, telling her that there is no point in fighting back. The general populace would rather die than let in the 86. And also, the 86 have no reason to help them. They'd soon come to realize that the Republic is not needed at all to help against the war, and that there is no benefit to defend a nation that does nothing but complain. Lena argues that even if that were the case, it is more of a reason for them to help. That only together, that can they as a collective have an actual chance of survival. She does not want to give up. She'd rather fight until her final moments, even if it is all for nothing, just like the people she looked up to before. Otherwise, she would not be able to face them. The two stare each other down, each's ideas and ethics clashing against one another. A long silence fills the void between the two as they stand opposed to each other. It is Lena's uncle who breaks the silence.
We have a follow-up regarding the warning a moment ago. All soldiers and officers, please come to the meeting hall. I repeat, we have a follow-up regarding the warning a moment ago. All soldiers and officers, come to the meeting hall at once.
Then you do whatever you want. Follow your silly pipe dream until you're satisfied.
It's a child's right to dream. And until that child wakes up from her dream and is crushed against the rocks of a merciless reality, it is an adult's job to protect her. It is time for you to be crushed, as you watch your naive dreams shatter against reality. He says nothing more as he picks up his rifle and walks away from Lena. This scene is perfect in how the fall and rebirth of Magnolia can be encapsulated in this entire exchange. Lena's uncle chooses to hold on to the old beliefs of the Republic that is about to fall. It's been established already that he knew about Magnolia's end, and we've seen him embrace it. Meanwhile, up against Lena and the younger generation, full of spirit and determination to keep going. Both of these two characters love their country. However, the way they care for it is vastly different. This final moment between them was not a moment of passing on the torch. It was a bitter and begrudging admittance of defeat of an entire country, personified into a single person. What follows after this is something that will go down in the history books as nigh breathtaking. It will be looked on in glory and idolized by any anime fan who watches this series. As Lena sits down at her station preparing for battle, she pulls out a small little trinket. Nothing much. A small little accessory with 2 golden wings. She applies it to her power raid, and then...
Para-raid. Activate. Synchronization target. All active processors! Synchronization complete.
Every single 86 surrounding the nation, now able to hear Lena, pleading for all units to immediately relocate within the confines of District 1 to counter the enemy. If you want a new addition to the greatest flexes in anime, add Lena Milese to the best of the best, because she rallied a country in a void of hope to come together to save their home. She doesn't expect the 86 to heed her call, nor does she expect her own people to happily fight alongside them. But the only thing Lena cares about right now is the survival. She is not only a member of the greatest flexes in anime, she is the queen.